अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ थर्मोडायनेमिक साइकिल। Basically, thermodynamic cycle is a sequence of processes, and at least we have required two processes to complete a cycle. First, we'll discuss different but other different cycles. First one is the power cycle versus the refrigeration cycle. So, in the power cycle, we get some work output, but in case of a refrigeration cycle, we have to provide some work input. Second cycle is the vapor cycle versus the gaseous cycle. This cycle differentiation is based on the working fluid. In the vapor cycle, initially the working fluid is the vapor, and in the partial cycle, the working fluid is in the liquid form. It means the vapor cycle is a dual phase, or we can also say it is a two-phase system. While in the gas cycle, the working fluid remain only in the gaseous form. Third category is the open cycle versus the closed cycle. So in open cycle, what happened? The working fluid, when let's say m dot working fluid enter into the system, it circulate inside the cycle, and after completion of the process, the fluid does not return to its original position. It means, let's say we have we enter the petrol in a bike, and what happened inside the bike, the process, different type of process takes place, and uh, after continuation of the processes, the this petrol or this working fluid, mixture of air and the petrol, goes back in the form of exhaust gases. It means the fluid does not come back into the original position. So such type of cycles are known as the open cycle. But in the closed cycle, let's say mass m dot enter into the cycle, and after the completion, the mass m dot goes back to its original position. Such type of the cycles are known as the closed cycle. So next one is the we have the ideal cycle versus the actual cycle. In the open and closed cycle, we can also say the working fluid is returned to the initial state at the end of the cycle and is recirculated. In the open cycle, the working fluid is renewed at the end of each cycle instead of being recirculated. Next one is the heat. Next, we have categorized the ideal cycle versus the actual cycle. In ideal cycle, we assume the efficiency is to be 100%. Like there are not any internal or the external irreversibility. But actual cycles that actually takes place inside the combustion, inside the process or inside the cycle, in which there are some internal or external irreversibilities associated, are called the actual cycle or the non-ideal cycle. Okay, let's say before going to the any cycle, we have some, we will take some assumption. Okay, we discuss the ideal cycle, a cycle that resembles the actual cycle closely but is made of totally internally reversible process called the ideal cycle. Next one is the reversible cycle. Okay, reversible basically, for the idealization of any cycle, we assume the Carnot cycle. We take Carnot as a reference or a standard cycle. Components can be changed, but the Carnot cycle is the cycle that has maximum possible efficiency, and it operates between two temperature limits, and the no cycle exceed than the efficiency of the Carnot. Okay, to check the analysis for the any cycle, the term we use is known as the thermal efficiency. So we'll discuss what is the thermal efficiency. Thermal efficiency, it is the ratio of the net work per unit heat supplied. So this is the amount of work we get in case of a power cycle. But in case of a refrigeration cycle, this network, we we are not getting some network output, but we are actually providing some input. And this Q is the Q supply. Higher the efficiency, higher the thermal efficiency, it means higher the overall performance, or it means the cycle is producing more power. Okay, First, we will discuss different type of the power cycle. In the power cycle, different power cycles. The cycle we will discuss power cycles. Okay. In first, we will discuss different type of power cycle, and in power cycle, we will discuss different type of the IC engines or the internal combustion. So before starting the internal combustion engine, we will take some assumption for the analysis of the power cycle. The first assumption is the cycle does not involve any friction. Therefore, the working fluid does not experience any pressure drop. So what is the pressure drop? Whenever the fluid passes through any tubes or any pipeline, it experiences some type of the pressure drop. Pressure drop is basically the difference in pressure, initial and the final pressure. And this pressure drop is caused due to the viscosity of the fluid, due to the velocity of the fluid. Higher the viscosity, higher the velocity, higher the pressure drop. So we assume in case of an ideal cycle, there is no pressure drop. It means we assume the velocity and the viscosity of the fluid are both are very negligible as it flows in pipes or devices such as the heat exchanger. The second assumption is all expansion and compression processes take place in a quasi-equilibrium. So what is the quasi-equilibrium? It is basically we assume the changes are very small or negligible. Let's say we have a piston cylinder device. What happened? There is continuously change in pressure inside the piston cylinder device. But in case of an ideal cycle, we assume the pressure remains uniform throughout the cycle. So such type of expansion or such type of cycle takes place are known as the quasi-equilibrium. Third assumption, the pipes connecting the various components and the various components of the system are well insulated and heat transfer through them is negligible. So it means there is no interaction. If you remember, we have two types of interaction in a thermodynamic system. One is the heat interaction and second one is the work interaction. So we assume the heat interaction is equal to the zero. It means the process is the reversible adiabatic process. So you can see for the analysis of the power cycle, we have two types of diagram. One is the pressure and volume diagram, and second one is the temperature and entropy diagram. Mostly the temperature and entropy diagram is used to calculate the net heat addition, while the pressure and the volume diagram is used to calculate the net work. In case of a analysis, we will draw both the diagram and check what happened with the entropy and the temperature and the change what happened inside the system when the pressure and volume of the system changes. So next we will discuss before starting the internal combustion engine cycle. We will discuss the ideal cycle, that is the Carnot cycle. Basically, in the Carnot cycle, there are four processes. As you can see from the PV diagram and the PS diagram, there are four processes. There are two isentropic processes and two adiabatic processes. These are two the isentropic processes and these two are the isothermal processes. Here, this process and this process is the isothermal, and this process is the isentropic or the adiabatic process. It means the cycle takes place in the with the help of four processes. We have basically source, sink, in between there is a device, any device. It can be engine, it can be a refrigerator, it can be turbine, any type. Because we are discussing the power cycle, so we are taking engine. We have some device known as the engine. We get some work W net as a output. So these source and sink basically is a thermal reservoir. We use the word thermal reservoir. Why we call it is the thermal reservoir? Because if we add or reject some amount of heat from the source or either from the sink, we assume the overall temperature remains constant. It means the change in temperature. If the change in temperature is constant, it means the process remains to the isothermal process. And the second process is the isentropic. It means the overall or the net change in entropy is equal to zero. If the net change in entropy is equal to zero, it means we assume the processes are completely or internally reversible, the process returns to its initial position. Secondly, the cycle takes place between two components. Between the first one is the source and second one is the sink. It means the cycle takes place between two temperature limits, the source and the sink. So the Carnot cycle has the maximum or the highest possible efficiency because it takes place between the two thermal receptors. Okay, let's start with the processes. First process, the system takes some heat. Let's say the system take heat Q1 from the source, and its heat is transferred to the device. Let's say this is the engine, and when the heat at temperature source is at temperature, we can say TH. When the heat is transferred, we get some work output as due to the heat addition. We get some work output W net, and due to this work W net, there is the heat rejection process. Let's say Q2 heat is rejected into the sink at temperature TL. When the system reaches at the bottom dead center or at the sink, the system there is again the compression process start. The system again moves towards the initial position or towards the source. So if we draw the PV diagram, let's say I will draw the PV diagram here. This is the pressure P1. So the first process is the heat addition process that takes place at constant temperature 1 to 2. Second process is the isentropic expansion. We get some work output 2 to 3. Third process is the heat rejection 3 to 4 at temperature TL, and the final process is compressing of the system or the compresses of the gases again to the initial position, that is the P1 or T1. So the process TH1 to 2 and process 3 to 4 both are the isothermal, and process 2 to 3 and process 4 to 1 both are the isentropic process. Correspondingly, we draw the TS diagram here. So 1 to 2 is the constant temperature process. I will draw like this. This is the high temperature TH. This is the, let's say, low temperature TL. 3 to 4 is the constant temperature process. This arrow like this, 1 to 2, Q in added, 3 to 4, Q rejected, and 2 to 3 and 1 to 4 are the isentropic, constant entropy. So this is the complete cycle for the Carnot cycle. Okay. So if we calculate the efficiency of the Carnot cycle, we know Q in will be equal to, at high temperature TH, up from the second law of thermodynamics. From second law, we know that delta S is equal to, change in entropy will be equal to Q heat supplied divided by, according this statement is known as the Clausius-Kelvin statement. So from the Clausius-Kelvin statement, Q will be equal to TH S2 minus S1, and Q out will be equal to T low S3 minus S4. We can also derive this equation with the help of the first law of thermodynamics that I will discuss. From the first law, since it is the cyclic process, so delta U, change in internal energy, equal to 0. So we will get delta Q, or we simply get Q will be equal to, delta Q will be equal to W. So W will be equal to Q in minus Q out. We know that efficiency will be equal to W net divided by Q supplied, or simply we can say Q in. So the Q W net will be equal to Q in minus Q out divided by Q in. So this equation will be 1 minus Q out divided by Q in. So this is the efficiency of the current. So from equation, from the second law of thermodynamics, we can derive this equation. Since S2 equal to S3, S1 equal to S4. So let's say call this is equation number 1, this is equation number 2. So put these values, put 5, 3 and 4 in 1 and 2. So we will get Q in will be equal to TH and Q out will be equal to TH. So efficiency will be equal to 1 minus TL minus TH. So this is the efficiency of the Carnot. The formula represents the Carnot cycle operates between two temperature levels, or it only depends of the amount of heat added to the system and amount of the heat ejected from the system. So it depends TL, that is the low temperature reservoir, and TH, that is the high temperature reservoir. So if we want to increase the efficiency of a Carnot cycle, what we have to do? We have to increase the average temperature. So it means if we are increasing the temperature of the high temperature reservoir and decreasing the temperature of the low temperature reservoir, we can increase the maximum efficiency. But the temperature, we can increase the temperature up to the certain limit, because there are some restrictions like the material. If we increase the temperature of the high temperature reservoir, TH, if we are increasing the basically TH, what happened? Due to the material has a certain limit of temperature to bear with. So if we increase up to the certain limit of that material, the material will destroy and the operation will be failed. So if we decrease the temperature below the atmospheric temperature, the gases will not exhaust into the atmosphere, and again there are some restrictions. So there are, if we increase the efficiency, we have to increase the average temperature that beyond, not beyond the certain limit. So this is the basically the Carnot. Okay, now we will move towards the some IC engine cycles. Basically, IC engine cycles are also called the air standard cycle because the working fluid of the IC engine is the air. So this is the most important to remember. Working fluid of IC engine is air. Mostly we'll say in case of a petrol engine, the working fluid is petrol, and in case of a diesel engine, the working fluid is diesel. No, but the working fluid is only the air. Petrol or the diesel are the source of ignition or the source of a combustion. So first we discuss some assumption before starting the cycle. The assumption: the working fluid is air which continuously circulates in a closed loop and always behave as an ideal gas. If, what does it mean, the ideal gas? We assume that temperature and pressure or are negligibly small. Next assumption: all the processes that make up the cycle are internally reversible. So we assume there are no externally reversibilities associated with the cycle. The combustion process is replaced by the heat addition process, as we discussed later in the Carnot cycle, from an external source, and the exhaust process is replaced by the heat rejection process, restores the working fluid to the initial state. So there is another differentiation, that is the cold air standard. Basically, air has a certain specific heat, and the value of specific heat changes with the temperature and pressure. If we take the values at room temperature, that is 25 degrees Celsius, we will call this is the cold air standard assumptions. Now we will review some reciprocating engine. Basically, we have two type of reciprocating engine. One is the spark ignition engine, and second one is the compression ignition engine. The terms associated with both are similar. Later on, we will discuss what is difference between SI and CI. First, I will discuss some term. First one is the TDC. TDC stands for the top dead center. BDC stands for the bottom dead center. We have inlet valve, exhaust valve. The diameter of the cylinder is known as the bore. Distance from top dead center to the bottom dead center is known as the stroke, or vice versa. Distance from BDC to DDC or TDC to the BDC is known as the stroke. So the volume occupied from TDC to BDC is known as the swept volume. And the volume above the TDC, volume above TDC, that is basically the clearance volume. Or we can also say is that this is the basically volume occupied by the combustion chamber, or in which there are the inlet valve and the exhaust valve. We have inlet valve and the exhaust valve for the entry of the pressure and for the exhaust of the different type of the gases. So this is the term displacement swept volume are also called the displacement volume, and the clearance volume, that is also the volume occupied by the combustion chamber. Okay, next we will discuss the spark ignition engine and the compression ignition engine. The basic difference: spark ignition engine are also called the Otto cycle or the petrol cycle, while the compression ignition system are also called the diesel cycle or the pressure cycle. In a spark ignition engine, there is a spark plug that is placed inside the combustion chamber, or that is placed at the top of the piston. Okay, before starting discussing the combustion chamber or the spark ignition and the compression ignition engine, there are some also term associated, that is the, this is the cylinder. Inside the cylinder there is a piston, and this is the cylinder head. All type of the valve, combustion chamber, spark plug is placed in on the top of the cylinder. Okay, so we are discussing the spark ignition engine and the compression ignition engine. In the spark ignition engine, there is a spark plug that is placed in the cylinder, while in the compression ignition engine, there is a no spark. Basically, spark ignition or the compression ignition, both are the source of ignition. How we can say how the ignition takes place. In case of a SI engine, the ignition takes place with the help of a spark. While in case of a CI engine or the compression ignition engine, the ignition will take place with the help of a compression of the gas. Or the compression, we can also say with the help of a compression of air. While in spark ignition engine, the source of the combustion is the petrol. In case of a CI or a compression ignition engine, the source of the combustion is the diesel engine. The cycle for the spark ignition is the constant volume cycle, and for the CI engine is the constant pressure cycle. So we later on we will discuss why we use the constant volume cycle for the spark ignition engine and why we use the constant pressure cycle for the CI engine. Okay. Next we will discuss, we have a compression ratio. So what is the compression ratio? Compression ratio, it is the maximum volume V maximum divided by the V minimum. So the V maximum will be the volume till the bottom dead center, VDC, and V minimum will be the volume at the top dead center. So we can also set the volume V total will be equal to the V swept plus V clearance, and the V minimum will be equal to V clearance. So compression ratio will be equal to V total divided by V clearance, or we can say V swept plus V clearance divided by V clearance, or it is equal to V swept divided by V clearance plus 1. So this is the V swept plus, so this is the Vs plus Vc plus 1. So this is the formula for the compression. So what this formula can include: higher the compression ratio, higher the, later on we'll discuss how the efficiency will be increased. Higher the compression ratio means higher the volumes of the cylinder. It means higher or the bigger is the size of the engine. Next we will discuss the swept volume. Also we can write swept volume, basically it is equal to swept volume, it is equal to pi by 4 d scale into L. D is the bore of the cylinder, L is the length of cylinder, multiplied by the number of cylinders, number of pistons, number of revolutions, and every factor that include or that affects the power we will add into the swept. So this is the compression. Next, we have discussed the mean effective pressure. So mean effective pressure is not, basically it is not the pressure. It is the, we can say it is the mean effective pressure is the average pressure that if we put onto the cylinder or the piston uh, piston, it will produce during the entire power stroke, then it will produce the same amount of work, net work, as that produced during the actual cycle. So the formula we use, that is the mean effective pressure, is equal to mean W net will be equal to mean effective pressure multiplied by the area of the piston multiplied by the number of strokes. Either it can be a two stroke or it can be the four stroke. So area multiplied by the stroke, that is equal to basically the swept volume or the displacement. So the mean effective pressure can be used as a parameter to compare the performance of a reciprocating engines of equal size. The engine with the larger value of MEP delivers more net work per cycle and thus performs better. So this is the ideal cycle for the ignition engine. I will discuss the first process. Initially, we will discuss this PV diagram, that is the actual ideal diagram 1 to 2. What happened? The piston is at the bottom dead center. The inlet valves open. Air and the fuel mixture enter. Now we'll specifically discussing the Otto cycle. Air and fuel mixture enter inside the piston cylinder engine. Initially, the piston, there is the atmospheric pressure at this case. The atmospheric pressure is exerting into the piston. When the inlet valve open, due to the vacuum or due to the suction, the air and fuel mixture enters into the piston. So this is the intake stroke. Now, as the air and fuel mixture enter into the inside the piston cylinder, the pressure increases, and due to this increased pressure, the piston starts moving up, known as the compression stroke. This is the 1 to 2 stroke. This is the compression stroke. As the piston reaches the top dead center, there is the spark plug. The spark plug fires. As the spark plug fires, the piston, there is the expansion process. And due to the expansion of the gases or due to the expansion of the air and fuel mixture, there is increase in temperature, and due to this increased temperature, the piston moves downward and known as the expansion stroke. So this is the power stroke in which the piston spark plug fires. So the volume remains constant. Why the volume remains constant? Because we assume the process takes place in nanoseconds. And in this very small time, the piston does not have time to move downward. In fact, all the gases expand. In fact, all the gases burn here, or the heat, maximum heat added at the constant volume. So the next process is the expansion process. Piston start downward. As the piston reaches to the bottom dead center, the exhaust valve open, and the exhaust gases and push the exhaust gases outward. Same, and the final stroke is again the piston moves upward, and the air and fuel mixture enter into the next. So this is the complete Otto cycle. So this is the, so now we'll go towards how we can say differentiate between the four stroke and the two stroke cycle. In a two stroke engine, instead of the valves are replaced by the ports. This is the crankcase, like we assume this is the cylinder. Inside the cylinder, this is the inlet port and this is the exhaust port. When the piston, in the piston is sealed between the crankcase, and due to this sealing effect, there is the compression process. So in case of a two-stroke engine, all the four functions that are described above are executed in just two strokes: the power stroke and the compression stroke. In these engines, the crankcase is sealed and the outward motion of the piston is used to slightly pressurize the air and fuel mixture in the crankcase. Like you can see in this figure. This is the crankcase, this is the inlet and the exhaust. Okay, so the inlet and the exhaust valve are replaced. I will tell you with the help of the cylinder openings in the cylinder bar. During the other portion, the power stroke, the piston uncovers. As the piston rotates, the piston uncovers the exhaust port and allowing the exhaust gases to be partially expelled, and then the intake port allowing the fresh air fuel to be entered into the cylinder. The mixture is then compressed as the piston moves upward during the compression stroke, and subsequently the piston moves upward and the stroke is ignited by the spark plug and the process complete. Generally, we assume the two-stroke engines are less efficient than the four-stroke engine, but the two-stroke engine have high power to weight ratio and higher power to volume ratio. They are mostly used in bikes, chainsaws, lawn mowers, and etc. because of the smaller size and for the larger requirement. Later, now there are some advanced technologies that are modified the both four-stroke and the two-stroke engine by using instead of a spark plug, we have a self-ignition, battery, fuel injection system, changing the fuel electrode control. There are different type of the system that are introduced to better for the better power consumption or for the better for the more work output either from the two-stroke or from the four-stroke. As you can see, two-stroke engine is used in the lawn mowers, and the most common example of the two-stroke used in the chinky. And you can see how powerful it is. Okay, so this is the PV diagram for the ideal auto cycle that intakes and exhaust flow. So if we calculate the work input and the work output for the auto cycle, so from process 1 to 2, I said this is the process 1 to 2. This is the isentropic compression. It P1 V1 gamma is equal to P2 VT gamma. So PB is equal to nRT. So process 2 to 3 is the heat addition process. So that takes place at constant volume, B constant. So if the volume is constant, pressure is directly proportional to temperature. So P2 by T2 is equal to P3 by P3. From process 3 to 4, that is the isentropic expansion. P3 V3 gamma is equal to P4 V4 gamma. Process 4 to 1 is the heat rejection again at constant volume V equal to constant. So P4 divided by T4 equal to P1 divided by T1. Also V3 is equal to V2 and V4 is equal to V1. So the compression ratio will be equal to V maximum, that is equal to the V1 divided by V minimum, that is equal to V2, or also we can write V4 divided by the V3. So this is the compression ratio. Okay. If we want to calculate the net work output or the so Q according to the from the first law of thermodynamics, Q will be equal to delta U plus W. So from process 1 to 2, if we take from process 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, so Q V in will be equal to U3 minus U2, that is constant volume CV T3 minus T2, because in this case the work is equal to 0 and Q out will be equal to U4 minus U1, so it will be equal to CV T4 minus T1. So we know that efficiency will be equal to W net will be equal divided by Q supply or the Q in. So W net will be equal to, from first, since it's the cyclic process, so delta U will be equal to 0. So Q delta Q will be equal to W. So efficiency will be equal to CV T3 minus T2 minus CV T4 minus T1 divided by Q in, that is CV T3 minus T2. So if we further simplify, take CV common, T3 minus T2 also common. So we will get 1 minus T4 minus T1 divided by T3 minus T2 divided by CV T3 minus T2. So this is the efficiency in terms of temperature. Now if you compare the efficiency both Carnot cycle and the Otto cycle, the Carnot cycle efficiency is 1 minus TL divided by TI. It depends on the two temperatures, TL and TH. While in case of an Otto cycle or a petrol cycle, it depends on the four different temperatures, T1, T2, T3, and T4. That's why the efficiency of a Otto cycle is lesser than the efficiency of the Carnot. Furthermore, if we want to simplify the efficiency in terms of a volume, what we have to do, okay, if we want to calculate the efficiency in terms of a volume, you know that simplify the expression that P1 V1 gamma P1 V1 gamma is equal to P2 V2 gamma. PV is equal to MRT. Basically, we have to calculate the value of T4, T3, T2, and T1. Or either we have to calculate temperature in terms of a single temperature. So, put this value P1. So, if we separate P is equal to MRT divided by V. So, put this value MR T1 V1 gamma is equal to MR T2 divided by V2 power gamma. So MR cancel, but we get T1 V1 gamma minus 1, T2 V2 gamma minus 1. So we have to calculate the value of T2. So this will be the value T1 divided by V1 divided by V2 whole power gamma minus 1. And if you remember, this is the value of the compression ratio. We call this is RP gamma minus 1. So this is the value of T2. Similarly, we calculate the value of T3 in terms of T1, T4 in terms of T1. So you will get the efficiency 1 minus and put the values 1 minus RB gamma minus 1. So this show that efficiency of the petrol cycle or the Otto cycle is the function of the compression ratio. It means if we increase the compression ratio, the efficiency will be increased. But at what limit? How at what certain limit we can increase the compression ratio? If we increase the value of compression ratio above that some certain limit, the efficiency will start decreasing. Look, okay, I will show the graph. We draw the graph of a compression ratio. So if we draw the graph between the efficiency and the compression ratio, we see that at efficiency, the maximum compression ratio for the in case of a Otto cycle, gasoline engine or the petrol cycle, it lies between 8 to 10. So this is the average. If we increase above the 10, the efficiency starts decreasing. So higher the compression ratio means higher the size of the engine, higher the volumes, and higher the bigger the size of the engine. So we cannot increase and more. If we increase the compression ratio, it means we are compressing the gases more. And if we in compressing the gases more, it means there is a chances of self-ignition. So there are certain parameters that also affect the efficiency. So we cannot ignore. Also, there is a problem of self-ignition, auto-ignition, or the known also called as the engine. Okay. So this is the about all about the petrol engine. Next is the diesel cycle, that is also called the compression ignition cycle or the pressure cycle.